I'm going to say a lot of things that are super controversial, but you know, they have to be said at some point. So anyway, I expect that the Dev Connect next week is going to make some noise about this topic. So let's talk about one curve to roll them all. The real good curve, the right curve you should be using actually. My name is Jerome. I run a company called COMETH. I teach economics at an engineering school called CNAM, and I'm the president of Ethereum France. So if you've been to HCC, that's the conference we run every year. And we run it next year in Brussels, so better be prepared. Woo!
We're talking to Bettina already.
Okay, cool. So you can find me everywhere. If someone asks you for Bitcoin on Telegram not using this thing, it's not me. And if I'm asking you for Bitcoin on Telegram, ask yourself, what's going on? What would you have in Bitcoin anyway? So we've been with my company, we have a game studio called COMETH Game Studio. We've been doing games for about 2 years now because we like to experiment with games on a good segue towards DeFi or towards blockchain or towards anything decentralized. Like try to use blockchain inside a game and you open up a new frontier. And that's what we've been experimenting with our game studio, COMETH Game Studio. And we also build the tech stack on top of that and distribute it to third parties. One thing we realized with was the difficulty to onboard people from Web2. We've been at first running the game on Polygon initially. We've been experiencing tremendous troubles on doing that because the network can be very volatile in terms of usage and also noisy neighbors problem and so on. And you have to onboard people onto blockchain in the first place. So how do you do that? Well, if you're running a game or if you're running basically any product you want to expose someone to, you need to do advertisement. So you're going to run some advertisement on TikTok, on Facebook, on Twitter, etc. And you get them to eventually click on your link and discover the game or discover your brand or discover something. And at this stage, you have the install wallet thing. And this is where the funnel starts. It's to become super thin. The installing a wallet, you lose almost everyone. Installing a backup, you lose everyone, and nobody buys crypto to do a transaction and to use your product at the end. So that's super painful. We realized that with different tryouts on different approach, and the conclusion was something that's actually quite well known in the ecosystem. There is a form of hazing when you have to install a wallet. You need to download a third-party application, you need to do some KYC to get some crypto, you need to connect your wallet to something else using a different tabs. People are not super accustomed with tabs. The deep link are oftentimes broken and so on. Wallet Connect, you're doing a great job, but you know it's tough. And then you get scammed, you lose security forwards and so on and so forth. Anyway, the approach from someone that comes from Web2 is like, hey, one-click login, one-click purchase. What's the catch? I like this product. I want this. Or I want to play. Anyway, and traditional users have been lazy. They've been made lazy also. That the improvement of UX has led to many laziness in the users. And if you're not showing like saying super cool that people should super toughly fight to get into, they're not going to use your product anyway. So we did different things like. We tried basically everything, to be honest, and nothing works in a manner that lower your acquisition costs sufficiently low that it's worth going this way or it's worth going that way. If you're using anything that's exposed, like login with Google and then, wow, you have a wallet, what we call wallet as a service, they are all providing good tech, doing good things, but none of them are doing something better in terms of acquisition cost. Whenever you have a pop-up or you have to open an application, you lose everyone. It's super painful. So there is a form of fallacy in the wallet as a service at the moment. So here's the controversial take. Wallet as a service is a good patch on something that's already deeply broken and that you should consider using with a lot of caution. They are not solving every problem. Far from this, they are sometimes incomplete, insecure, and expensive. The business model is not super clear most of the time. They will tell you, like, hey, it's free until 10,000 users, and then 10,000 users after, well, it's going to be 10 cents per address, and so on. So it can be super painful if you're scaling up. And then all of those things are true. Whatever way you want to put it, the custodianship is not super clear. MPC is a really cool word to hide different technology and different approach. Wallet funding is still complicated. The wallet funding and then wallet connectivity, and then the closed sourceness, and then the copy pasta of private key is like, wow, it's tough. And anyway, it doesn't solve your onboarding problem, because once you have a login saying, hey, log in with Google, and then back and forth with a third-party provider, then boom, you have a wallet, you're going to lose people in this back and forth. So it's painful. It's super, super painful. So in the past 12 months, we heard a lot about account abstraction. That has been the new cool kid on the block, and it's actually tremendously, tremendously cool. It comes from a differentiation that we have forgotten that it exists, which is at the account level, you have a private key and the public key associated to it. They come together, and we tend to forget that they come together. That's what account abstraction is actually pushing, is that you have the account on the one end and the activator or the signer on the other end. And this division between account and signer is extremely important, because it's opening up a lot of things that you can do and you couldn't do with the EOA approach. So the best thing you get from account abstraction are the two following. You remove the need for preloading the account with crypto. So you don't have the buy crypto step, which is extremely cool. And then you also introduce new ways for users to log in, ways that are kind of more friendly until they get more accustomed to blockchain and then use their own EOAs, or use something that's a bit more secure, or a bit more robust, or a bit more decentralized, wherever you want to put it. It's an old topic. We had 2 digits EID already discussing that from back in the days. All of those were stalled and then abandoned, and then put back into the history of Ethereum, and then never look after, and then reopened, and so on. The most recent tryouts on account abstraction is 4337. You probably heard about it if you've been in the ecosystem, like, oh, account abstraction, like 4337 Mafia, and so on. Like, there is a very active group that's doing a great job at pushing this topic and making people realize that it's, if it's not super mature, or if it's already mature, anyway, it's a really good thing you should look into, because it's opening up new options for people to onboard. Nevertheless, account abstraction using 4337 introduced the terms mempool. So you have an alternative way of collecting messages that you want to put in the blockchain. At some point, there has to be some reflection on how we build and use that. So it's cool. The whole system 4337 is already quite usable at various providers, but still, you can do account abstraction without doing full 4337. It's already a huge gain in terms of usability of your app. So in practice, 4337 is not a token, it's a standard, a smart contract standard. And instead of having a private key controlling one only address, you have the private key and the address that can be separated. You can have multiple owners onto the same smart wallet. It's a contract, it's a smart contract, it's a wallet. And you can activate it with signatures, with various different things, with ZK proofs, whatever floats your boat. But inside the smart wallet, you can have all of those good benefits that the regulators hopefully will be very keen to look into and think about. Arbitrary verification logic for the transaction. You can roll out the key, having different form of security, having a different logic for different transactions. For example, it's 2-on-2 if you want to do Uniswap, but it's 1-on-2 if you just want to play a game or something like this. You get also to remove the super painful way of saying approve, swap, send. You can do that in one transaction, in one single interaction, because you have multi-operation by default. The problem is that you still need to interact with contracts in a way that should support EIP 1271. It's extremely well supported anyway, but having a signature requirement is usually something that's well covered, and it also leads to a bit more gas cost. But in the atomicity of the operations, you can save also a lot. So there's a sweet spot at some point, you don't really feel it anyway. So it would be great if we had a very widespread method to store the key that we use on the internet. That would be great. Well, it turns out that now the big tech giants like Samsung, Apple, Google, and so on are now pushing heavily for a standard that they've introduced back in the days. I think I don't have the date here. I think it's 2008, the first tryout on passkeys. So it's a NIST standard, a curve called SECP256R1, R like Robert, compared to K1 from Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's we call it P256, we call it WebAuthn, we call it passkeys. It's the same curve, and it's been covered in all the hardware that you use for communicating with your friends and family. Your phone has an enclave that supports this key, and it's supported very, very, very widely. So what we did, my company plus Ledger plus a couple of other companies, we started to do some implementation in Solidity of this curve. So we start with 400,000 gas at the initial naive implementation. We could get it down to 70K gas compared to EC recover, like verifying the native curve of Ethereum. It's 3K gas, so it's still 23 times more expensive than a classic signature. But if you run it on L2, it doesn't really matter in the end. And we have many way forwards to push it even further. So let's look at token abstraction in a way that allows us to onboard safely people in a really non-custodial way. It's not gamification, that's for sure, but as we get into L2, it doesn't really matter. It's a great standardization. There's still a thing that needs to be done on 4037, and the implementation is still going on. But we, in my company and other company doing the same efforts, we really think that there's a match made in heaven with the way we can provide secure key and signatures inside the phone of the users without having them to install a wallet as a whole. When we get protocol side support, notably 3074 is a good candidate maybe. We can do 50x. In terms of gas efficiency, but also with SecP56R1 inside the protocol, and there's another IP for this, we're going to get another 20x or something. Polygon has lightly validated the integration of the precompiled, also the native support of the curve inside Polygon. It should be included in the Q1 fork of Polygon, so that's a great improvement. But I've been discussing a lot of things, I've been giving you a lot of reference, a lot of things, so I'd like to try it out. You can scan this QR code, it will lead you to a website called demo.cometh.io or smartwallet.new. You can scan this and see what it means to have people onboarded with a smart wallet. So you are on the classic Mint website, it asks you to put a name, so it creates a cookie with the name, so you can just read the same page again. But once you say register, it will ask you to create a key inside the enclave. And that's where the powerful thing comes up. Like, it's not an NPC. You've not been onboarded with a third party that asks you for your data or asks you for anything. You ask your phone to generate a key that never leaves your enclave. This enclave is where you store your password, where you store your credit card number, and so on and so forth. So it's truly not custodial. Like, there's no third party involved. Like, if COMETH go bankrupt, like, anyway, you still have your passkeys, they are in your phone. They are backed up with multiple methods. You are using iPhone. When you're using iPhone, the keychains are saved on your iCloud account in an encrypted manner. So you trust them as you trust your password and your things. On Google, the support for the backup inside the Google account is coming in December or January. If you are using Huawei or Samsung, you have the same time support at the Samsung and Huawei level. So yeah, but it's not custodial. Like, there's no MPC, there's no weird things involved. Like, it's just a key that you generate on your phone and you can onboard to. Then you deploy a multi-sig account with a one-on-one. Like, the signature you do with your phone is actually the signature that triggers the transaction. And there's a third party that's pushing this transaction on chain. You have a Gnosis safe if you're familiar with this type of smart account. It's a multi-sig by default, so you can add owners. If you look at the settings in the page, you can add an owner, and then you can take over the account because you have a wallet, you have something that you want to use to secure more this approach. And this is 100% open source. Check it out, it's easy, and you can onboard someone with 2 clicks without asking for an email address or something, and already have an address that you can interact with to onboard, engage, or whatever you want to do with your users. Cherry on the cake, you don't have to deploy the safe to have the address, because you can pre-compute the address of the safe. So yeah, well, why are people using something else to onboard? Honestly, I don't know. We dig into this approach because it helps us on solving many hurdles and many blockers that we find along the way when we want to scale applications that are targeted to retail. And honestly, like, the more we dig, the more we are convinced that this is a complete change of paradigm. abstracting the account for the users, like separating the signer and the account for the users, is just a complete change of perspective when you are building your app, and it's facilitating your life so much. So yeah, if you want to chat about this, I think I got some time for questions and stuff, and I'll be staying here a little bit to chat with you if you want to talk privately. We built that initially for our games, coming up on Epic Game Store, and also we work with the National Lottery in France that has a lot of ambition in the Web3 space, and we wanted to create a type of onboarding that they could feel comfortable with, whatever the regulation turned out to be. Because we had a regulation on games using NFTs in France. Like, we are preparing for the next MiCA already. And we wanted to be covered in this context. And of course, when you are a listed company like FDJ, you're like, hey, I don't want to be custodial. What is this thing? Where am I sending my users' data? What am I doing? And so on. And it's fairly simple to implement. It's fairly simple to use. There are multiple vendors, so you should look into it because it scales very well. And yep, so anyone has questions?
Thank you very much for the talk. I have a question regarding your what is your view exactly on basically things like StarkNet when you have my understanding is native abstraction basically.
So on StarkNet you have oh man, I wish I met the guy in Lisbon actually. There's someone that did a similar approach toward a smart account, and the name of the company, the guy is like this store, is super nice, and what is the name of this company? Damn it. So on StarkNet, someone did a similar thing with creating smart accounts, and then they implemented the curve SecP256R1, which is natively supported into StarkNet. So you get this similar thing, really the similar cartridge. The name is cartridge, that's what the name is. So cartridge is a similar approach to what we propose on EVM, but on StarkNet. And StarkNet supports this SecP256R1 curve natively. So you supercharge the thing, it's much faster. So anyway, it's on L2, so there is maybe I would guess there is a 2x or 3x in terms of cost efficiency from StarkNet compared to an optimistic rollup where you don't have any optimization. And if you want a ZK rollup, depending on the flavor of your ZK rollup, the ZK rollup are well known for optimizing gas when it comes to polynomial calculation. So you will get also maybe a 1x or 1.5x or a 2x compared to an optimistic. But yeah, it doesn't matter much, I think. So what I think about StarkNet doing this, well, thank you for doing this. It's super important, and the guys from Cartridge are super cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for the talk. Is it a threat to Ledger, and like, do you think people will use these kind of non-custodial solutions instead of Ledger, for example?
So it's a custodial solution, this one. Well, it's a custodial solution. Let's. Should you use a smart wallet instead of Ledger? That's the question.
Yeah, that's the question.
Way to put it. I would. Well, from my personal point of view, there's two types of users. You have the old-time advanced blockchain users that have known different chains, that have had to switch a wallet from, let's say, a Bitcoin to Ethereum, and then use Litecoin, and then use something else, then use something this. Or to put it differently, people that are doing more than 2 transactions a day since 2 or 3 years. Those folks start to have a certain hygiene on how to manage their keys. They're like, hey, well, I have a cold wallet and I have a hot wallet, and I'm managing my cold wallet with this thing, like my hot wallet with that thing, and so on. So you start to have habits. Like I've been using different hardware wallet. I favor Ledger because I'm French and I've had them for a long time. I work there as well. So for my cold wallet need, I would use a Ledger natively. Naturally, I will go this direction. Now, smart accounts are really the way to go. I'm slowly switching my hot wallet to a safe because it's more convenient for a lot of things. And I feel way more optimist at the fact of onboarding someone on a safe than onboarding someone with a MetaMask, a Rainbow, or whatever wallet that generate a key for them, and then they have to back up the keys and then back up the thing and so on. I wouldn't put my mother-in-law in your cheers, my mother-in-law, by the way. I wouldn't put my mother-in-law in front of a MetaMask or a ledger at first, but just the fact that you're using your biometry, your thumb, your face, or something, it's something that they are already trained to, and it's completely non-custodial, and they can upgrade later. Like you can add an owner and say like, hey, I want my ledger to be the other backup of the things. So to sum it up, whenever you start to move more than $2,000 or $3,000 worth of crypto, you should upgrade slowly your security, and you should start to have a good hygiene, a good Web3 hygiene. If you're doing less than that, or if you're using retail-oriented applications, well, you should use a hot wallet, and there's no better hot wallet than an abstracted wallet, because you can make it, you can evolve it, because you can change it, because you can hide your security, because you can do all sorts of stuff, and it's super cool. And also, one other cherry on the cake, that's a lot of cherries today, when you onboard to an application and this application deploy a safe for you, they don't know anything about you, they don't know what's your cold wallet, where you buy your crypto, they don't know anything. They just know that they have a new user, and if you feel comfortable enough to put your hot wallet as an owner, like, okay, cool, this is the Jerome, this is this guy, this is that guy. So by default, you have an address per application, so it's sort of privacy preserving by default as well. So yeah, I've become in smart contract build, smart account builds. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your attention. I hope you had a great demo meeting an NFT with a smart account. And this is really super cool. Like we have lots of L2s and we have lots of ways to onboard people. Maybe I'm completely wrong on what's the service. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that. But one way or the other, like we have really, really good way to onboard people now, and a lot of block space to fill. So can't wait for the next wave of adoption.
Thank you.